Welcome to Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman, a podcast celebrating unexpected choices, honest conversations, and the infinite possibilities of a happy, child-free life. I'm your host, Emily Paulsen. Each week, we'll meet inspiring guests, pushing boundaries, leading change, and redefining personal fulfillment. This is not about comparison, it's about possibility. Whether you're child-free by choice, circumstance, still deciding, or simply interested in fresh perspectives for limitless living, I am so happy you're here. Let's get curious together. The beauty of having a podcast that's pretty new is the fact that I can start traditions that are pretty new too. So, nothing is changing with the format of this podcast. I will still be having conversations with really interesting, innovative experts in their fields on the topics that I think we all want to know more about. But I wanted to kick off the year with just one solo episode to explain a little bit more about why I started this podcast, what I am hoping to do with this show, and to tell you what you can expect moving forward. So, I'm going to do this by answering a few questions that have come up since I launched the show. Question number one: is this podcast designed for child free people? The surprising answer to this is no. I created this because I wanted a podcast that was focused on exploring new perspectives, fresh ideas, choice, and individuality. I want to talk about the topics that I think people want to know more about. I want to feel free to ask honest, open questions so we can discover new parts of ourselves as we explore these interesting topics. I wanted it to be uplifting, even if the things we're talking about are heavy and serious, and I wanted it to be from a woman's perspective. I am a child free by choice person, and there are not very many examples of women who are well adjusted, admirable, joyful, all the good things that we want in this world, and also don't have kids. So I'm naturally bringing that perspective to these conversations of being child free, whether we're talking about finance, sustainability, nutrition, just because I am child free. Like that is my point of view. That is the life that I am leading day to day. But that does not mean the conversations we're having are exclusively for child free people. That actually could not be further from the goal here. I have had so many parents reach out to me saying they love having a show that they can tune into that feels like it was created for them as individuals. And kids just simply aren't the center of the conversation, which feels like a little bit of a break from those day to day parental responsibilities. Hearing messages like that brings me so much joy. If I had a wish for what this podcast will accomplish, it's about getting to know ourselves better, regardless of what life's purpose looks like to you or to me, to any one of us. I really want us to redefine what a fulfilling life can look like, even if that's a little bit different than the lifestyle we expected ourselves to want. And to me, that message is for absolutely anybody who wants to engage in this type of curious thinking and curious conversation. Okay, question number two. If this is not only for child free people and the guests aren't always child free people, why did you put child free in the title? Good question. Okay, so the life of being a parent and the life of a child-free person are inherently different, of course. I want to know about parenthood, and I think it's great that there are so many places to gain that perspective. There are very few spaces and stories that bring a child-free perspective, and particularly an optimistic child-free perspective. I do not want to go on the internet complaining about how annoying it is when people make snarky comments to me about the fact that I don't have kids. And that does happen. Like that just happened to me recently at the grocery store. It's annoying, it's stupid, but I don't want to talk about that more, right? I don't like that it happened. So to me, like I don't need to bring that up 11 times in different podcast episodes. I also don't want to have vent sessions with other child free women. I don't want to focus on the fact that a lot of people simply don't understand this child free choice. Instead, I want to celebrate the fact that we have choice. I'm proud of myself for knowing myself well enough to make a choice on this subject that is right for me. And I want to keep learning about a million other subjects so I can keep exploring and building the life that I want. I think a lot of other people are interested in living this way too, whether we have kids or not. But because I do think celebrating unconventional decisions is important, I wanted that to be a core part of the concept, a key part of the title, and really the lens that we look through for some of these discussions. So that's why child free became such a core part of this podcast. Question number three: why don't you want kids? And when did you know that? The question. I grew up in a relatively small town in Ohio, and it was a great life. I mean, I love my childhood. I'm so grateful for the way I was raised and where I lived and all of the details about that. But growing up in that environment, every adult woman that I knew was a mom. And that makes sense, right? Like you grow up, I had a mom, she had other mom friends, you're going to cheerleading practice and 4 H meetings and all these things where you're surrounded by parents. I also had an older cousin that I was obsessed with. She's 8 years older. I wanted to be like her in every single way. She happily married her high school boyfriend and had kids pretty much right away after college. And I was too young to really understand or want those things at the time that she was doing it. But because she was doing it, I just assumed that as I got older, I would probably want that lifestyle too. Like, why wouldn't I when every other woman around me is living life that way? Also, I feel like this is not talked about very much, but playing the role of mom is so ingrained in the way little girls play and little girl activities. My best friend Rachel and I hung out pretty much every day after school together from 3rd grade on, and a lot of our play revolved around pretend motherhood. Like, there were baby dolls, we would pretend to be mom friends that were taking our babies out for errands or taking our babies out to lunch. We were always setting up house, there was, like, a nursery section of the house, and then eventually we found our true calling in life, which was Barbie. And granted, Barbie is like the cool, hot version of this baby doll lifestyle, but even when we played with her and we loved that she had money and jobs and cool cars and businesses, we would still play out these archetypes that we were familiar with, where Barbie got married to a man, they had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and, moved into the dream house together. It makes sense that this is what we do in our free time as 10-year-olds because that is all that we know. And I was fortunate to live in a house with 2 parents. They took care of me and my brother. I thought our life was wonderful. I had one of those amazing moms. I mean, I still have my mom. I'm very grateful for that, who was just destined to be a mother. Like, everything about it came naturally to her. She led by example with this, like, I don't know, beautiful, fun, happy, crazy lifestyle that we led. So in my spare time, like, this is the stuff that I was doing. This is the stuff that I thought I would want to be. Then you get a little bit older and you're not playing with Barbies anymore, but you're having more serious conversations on this topic. You get into more serious relationships with boyfriends and you're talking about the future and do you want to get married? When would you want to get married? Where would you want to live? And girlfriend conversations start daydreaming about your wedding and who you want to get married to. What kind of dress do you want? What baby names would you use for your kids? Like, this is just all part of this, like, teenage, early adult ecosystem in the female world. So again, I just kept assuming that because everyone else wanted it and it looked so great that as I got a little bit older, when I found the right partner or when I lived in the right city or when I had the right job or whatever, that I would want to be a mom too. Time keeps passing. In my early 20s, I eventually started considering that maybe motherhood was never gonna be for me, like, in spite of all of these daydreams, and I have a great imagination. So the daydreams were there, but I was always picturing myself as this career woman wearing, like, really funky, colorful business suits, very clueless coded. Like, I would picture myself walking the streets of Chicago or New York in some cool plaid skirt on my way to my office, and I had this recurring daydream of, like, eating breakfast at my desk in this skyrise building because I was too busy to run out and get breakfast for myself, and my assistant was bringing me coffee. Like, I had a vision for my future, but the older I got, the more disconnected the motherhood piece of that vision felt to me. Like, I just could not reconcile in my brain how I would want that or what I would be doing. It just, like, did not feel like a fit for me. So anyway, as time is passing, I finally come to a place where I just think, maybe I won't be a mom. Like, what a novel idea, right? Considering where I come from. What if this just isn't for me? And when I got comfortable with that idea, which happened really quickly, it's like once I thought of it, I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. There could be a life path where I don't do this ever at all. It felt like such a huge relief to me. Like, just stepping into myself and what was like, "Ah, I don't have to figure out how to work this into my future," when it feels so misaligned with who I am and everything that I want. And because it felt like such a relief, I really over indexed on telling everybody about it. I thought I had found the best kept secret in womanhood. I was going around to all my friends and saying, like, hey, girl, I don't know if you know this, but you don't have to have kids. Congrats. Like, let's celebrate. We can do whatever we want with our life. And that was met with some pretty mixed reviews. Like, there were a lot of people who, and I'm talking like other girls, other women in our early 20s, a lot of people who were really confused by my perspective on this, often offended by my perspective on this, and they had a right to be. I mean, I think back on some of these discussions that I created or led, and I really went hard with like standing up for this point of view. So I get why it pissed some people off. And I still feel regret. I just want to like cringe my face right now on some of the things I said, just not being empathetic and understanding to the other side, but I just felt so misunderstood. I could not believe that everybody I was talking to about this, and again, too much, I was bringing it up too much. I was bringing it up because I thought I was helping, right? Like, I felt like I was illuminating this other lifestyle choice, and I could not believe that pretty much nobody felt the same way I did. I was confused why nobody felt the same way, and they were confused why I felt so differently from them. I tried to use those cringe conversations as learning experiences to tame my passion for this subject a little bit through my 30s. But it's still sometimes hard not to feel the sting of this divide between what I want my life to look like or what I wanted my life to look like and what other people thought my life should look like or just the life that they wanted for themselves. And I could go on, right? Like this still comes up clearly, and I'm bringing it up again, right? I'm bringing it up here, but the truth is, looking at all of this together, when I think about my entire life experience and what I'm doing now, I feel so freaking grateful. I have a really understanding family who never pressured me to have kids. Even though I have a lot of wonderful mom friends, I also have a lot of wonderful child free friends, men and women. And we talk about these subjects really openly and candidly with each other. Of course, my husband and I are on the same page about this. I would have never married him if he was also not child free by choice. I think that's something that's pretty key. Spouses align on. And with the exception of a few random strangers here and there making some snide comment to me, which happens and like, who cares? Other than that, I feel really accepted in my personal life for making this choice. And I know not everyone has that same experience. If my first mission with this show is to help all of us celebrate our individuality and find fulfillment, my secondary mission is to be a place of support for others who are child free and having a really crap time with it. This is a complicated emotional topic, and everyone's experience is different. But not wanting to have kids does not mean there is anything wrong with you. And wanting to have kids and not being able to have them also does not mean there is anything wrong with you. I am honored to shine a light on this topic and connect with anyone who is seeking conversation in this area. Seriously, please, if you want to talk about this from your personal perspective, DM me, message me, email me. I would love to connect. I would love to talk with you. I would love to listen to you. Anything that you want to share, please know that I'm putting this out there in a really public way because I want to engage with people on this and about this. So please, if anybody listening would like to connect, never hesitate to reach out to me. And the final question, what can we expect from this podcast in 2025? I'm really excited about what is to come. You can expect more conversations with really cool people on topics that I think are super interesting and that I think you will find really interesting too. Some of the upcoming episodes cover aging, the loneliness epidemic, tech addiction, energy, like what is it and how can we channel it? Color psychology, menopause, mental health of men, caring for aging parents, Alzheimer's, toxicology, plastic surgery. There is no shortage of stuff that I want to learn about and talk about. And luckily, there is also no shortage of people who are incredibly well informed experts in all of these areas. And the depths that people can bring to these discussions, the humanity, the relatability. I am so grateful for the guests that are willing to come and spend time with me. And I'm just so excited about what is to come. From my perspective, this is only the beginning. So, if there is a topic that you want to hear more about, something you've been noticing in society or just thinking about personally, please send me a note to tell me. I am always open for new ideas. I'm just one person and there are like a million things we could learn about. So, I would genuinely love to know what you want to hear more of in 2025. I'll end this solo episode here by just saying thank you. This show would not work if nobody cared to listen. And the fact that you have tuned in and messaged me and subscribed and reached out, it has made 2024 the best year of my life yet. And I am not saying that with exaggeration. I mean that with full sincerity. And I really do want to express the reality that you hitting play on your phone while you're driving or working or cleaning or just living your busy life has genuinely changed mine. I hope you're enjoying a wonderful holiday season. Thank you for spending this time with me. I can't wait to hear what you think of this and the podcast in general. And cheers to a whole new year of living curiously. Thank you for listening to Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman. I did not really get this until I became a podcast host, but if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and consider taking 2 minutes to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Turns out, it really does make a difference. You can become a Curious Life insider at CuriousLifeOfAChildFreeWoman.com. Follow us on Instagram at Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman, and feel free to share this episode with a curious friend. Friendship is everything to me, so every recommendation really means the world. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and know that you'll never walk the child-free journey alone.